So are you guys looking to replace an old garage door like this with a nice new automated roller door? Well, today I'm going to be showing you step by step how you can do exactly that. We're going to be ripping out this old thing and replacing it with this, a nice new fully automated roller door. So you don't need a huge array of tools for this job, but you do need an extra pair of hands. So I've partnered up with TWF roller doors and we're going to be fitting this door together. There's a common misconception that you have to have a company fit these for you and they're really difficult, but that is not true. You can fit them yourselves and order them as a DIY kit, and TWF supply those DIY kits. So the first step of the process is to remove your old garage door, because we can't fit the nice new shiny one until we get this old thing out of the way. Now there's a lot of different types of garage door out there, so yours may well be different to this, but this one has springs that we need to cut, demount it from the brickwork and move it out of the way. So I'm just going to use a grinder and a cutting disc to cut through the spring. You will see the tension come off the spring, but it won't go far, it'll just pop up slightly. Right, that is the spring out of the way. So we're just going to start unbolting the door now. We're working in the dark because obviously we've had to drop the door down, so apologies about the poor light. And there we go. To me to you, to me to you. There's literally one screw holding this in. Ah, there it is. I'll chop it with that saw if I hold it. I need to be taller for this. So that is the old door out. Tom's now going to take you step by step how you can measure up to order your door online so that you can be confident that when you order it and when it turns up, it's going to fit your garage perfectly.
Depending on your preference, we generally have two fit types. You can go in between the opening by putting your guide rails here, and you can go behind the opening. So you don't see your guide rails and you don't see your top box. We always take a brick to brick measurement from the top and at the bottom. So this would be our top measurement, one down at the bottom, one from the floor to the underside of lintel. Then according to your fit type, we will adjust the measurements accordingly, either taking a certain amount off for an in-between fit or adding on for a behind fit.
So we're now going to move on to installation, and the first thing we need to do is cut the guide rails down to fit the top box in. We just need to check that what we're fixing to is level so that we can adjust it accordingly if it's not. So we're going to be putting our top box as high up as we can, and we're going to be attaching it to the joists. So I need to check that those joists are level. In this case it is actually bang on, which is very, very lucky because we ain't got too much adjustment to do.
On this particular door, the top box is 300mm. To allow us to get the guide rails in, we need to just give ourselves a little bit of room, about 10mm on that. If we mark down an extra 10mm, then we can cut our guides and get it in nice and easily.
So the next thing I'm going to do is take a measurement from the mark that we made down to the floor. And that measurement will be the length that we need to cut our guide rail. So that is 212. So we're going to cut the guide rail down now. If we take a look here, you can see that there's an F on the guide rail. Now what that is when you receive your guide rails, that is the face. So make sure that the F is facing out of the garage. So we'll now cut this to length, and we will always cut off the bottom so that we get a nice machined edge on the top. So we'll transfer that 212 onto the guide rail for that side. Now I'll just make a mark at 212 and transfer that across with a square. Now just use a grinder and cutting disc to cut on the marks that you've made. Make the cleanest cut you possibly can so it looks neat. And do that for the guide rail each side. So I'm now going to mark out 4 fixing points along my guide rail. Hold your guide rail up there so you can get a visual reference on the bricks, because you want to make sure that your fixings go into brick and not mortar. So we'll make 4 evenly spaced marks, starting from the second brick down and about 1 centimetre in from the edge, and then mark for your other fixings spaced evenly apart. Now grab yourself a drill and a couple of drill bits. You'll need a 7mm and 10mm. Make sure they're nice and sharp ones. That way they'll pass through the aluminium nice and easily. We're now going to drill on all 4 of these marks that we've made. We'll pass the 7mm drill bit all the way through first of all. Now I'll pass my 10mm drill bit through, but I only want to go through the back. I don't want to pass all the way through. If I pass all the way through, it'll be too big of a hole for our fixings. So we've got the holes drilled in the guide rails. Just pull off the protective plastic now. So we don't fix the guide rails in place yet. All we want to do is just lean them up against the side of the brickwork, ready for when we bring the top box in and offer them up. So we're going to get the biggest bit of all this out the van now. That's the top box. You got it? Top man.
Yeah, cheers, Cam.
Right, so we've got the top box out and we've got it sat on some sawhorses. Now with a 77mm door like this one, you do have some assembly that you need to do to put the curtain into the top box. If your door's a 55mm door, your life's going to be a little bit easier because it comes with the curtain already assembled in the top box.
Once you've got the back case off, slide your rings across so they're all even across the barrel, ready to take your locking springs when we put the curtain on.
So we're now going to offer the top box up to the guide rails before we fix anything in place. And this is where you'll definitely want 2 pairs of hands. You can see the lug slots down into the guide rail. You can then lift the whole thing into place like that. And now use a clamp to hold the guide rail to the brickwork, just like that, and that's going to make life a lot easier for you. Once the top box is up, before you go any further, just check your levels, just double check. That's spot on. If it's not, before you fix it, you can make adjustments on either side to make sure it's nice and level. We're now going to fix the top of the guide rails first. Going to use a 6.5mm SDS bit, pass through the hole, and we'll pass through into the brickwork and put a 7mm plug into the hole. Pop the plug through into the brickwork. You can use the screw to push it all the way through. That way you haven't got to take the rails back down. Give it a little tap with a hammer and then drive the screw all the way in. So our top screw's holding the whole thing roughly in place, but what we want to do is get some fixings into the top box itself. Otherwise all of the weight would be on these lugs that fix into the guide rails. So really you want to drill through this aluminium somewhere here and get a fixing through the top box into the brickwork. To do that, we're going to drill through the aluminium casing, through into the brickwork, and then we're going to pop a plug and screw in, hit it all the way in, and then fix the screw into the brick. And that takes some of the weight of the top box. We can now go along and drill and screw the rest of the holes in the guide rail to fix the whole thing in its final position. So we're now on to fitting the control box. Now dependent on your kit, there's various different ones. This one's got a light in it and it's a wireless safety edge. Really nice little box. We're going to fit that to the wall now and then we'll be wiring our motor into it. So once your control box is mounted on the wall, you can grab hold of the 4-core cable. You'll find that piece of cable coiled up inside the top box and you just need to feed it through the hole. And push that up into the gland and now we'll be able to wire that into the terminals. Pull off the terminal block that says motor, trim your cable to length, grab a pair of wire strippers and just strip the outer sheath off the 4-core. You'll see there's 4 wires inside. You'll need to strip each of those back a little bit so that you can wire them into the block. The blue wire goes into the common terminal, yellow and green goes into earth, and the brown and black wires go into up and down. These depend on which side your motor is. If when you test the door goes up when you press down, then you just need to switch these 2 cables around. Now plug the box in, switch it on, take hold of the cover, and this little cable here, you can just plug that into that bottom white connector. Then we'll just put the fixings in to attach the cover onto the box.
Once we've got the receiver box all wired in, we'll need to bring the motor into the fully down position to make it easy for us to attach the curtain to use the motor to pull it back up.
So we've unpacked the curtain, and these are our locking springs. We're going to feed these locking springs onto the top slat of the curtain before we attach it onto the barrel. So all you do is feed those into the end of the top slat, and you just space them out evenly along the top slat. So now the motor's in the fully down position, we're going to grab hold of the curtain, lift up there and fit the locking springs into the rings. So the locking spring, you can just slide it along, and you want it to locate in the first hole on the rings. So you just pull it round, place it in the first hole there, and slide the ring along until it locates into that pin there. Let it go, and that's one of the locking pins fitted onto the barrel. Do that all the way along.
So once all the locking springs are in position and fixed on, we can then use the motor to pull the curtain on. So if we press up, making sure we keep our slats all in line so we don't hit in the bottom of the header plates.
So you can see that the slats are rolled on now. It'll stop at a certain point, and that is when we then have to adjust it manually to set our parameters. We'll only have to do this once, and just supplied with a little tool in your kit to adjust the door so that it stops at the right position.
The hex hole closest to the front, the outside, is always your top limit, and the one closest to the inside is always your bottom limit. There's a plus and a minus direction. Adjust it so you have roughly one slat left in the guides.
So now you've set the top limit, we're going to lift the curtain up and over into the guide rail. So what we'll do is push it up over the roller, hopefully you can see that, and down into the guide rail.
Now we're going to set the bottom limit. That's always best just to turn it to minus a few times when we're setting the bottom limit, just to make sure that we don't overdo it when it comes down to the bottom. Adjust the limits until the whole door is concertinaed together to give it its strength.
We're back in darkness. We've got the door down, so we've got the light out. Hopefully you can see me okay. With your kit you'll have got some grub screws. Now on each of the locking pins, where the rings are, there's a couple of little holes for you to put them grub screws in, and that just keeps the rings in position. Right, we can raise the door up now. So with a fully automated door like this one, you will have a safety system included. Now all we need to do is screw that safety system onto the bottom slat of the door, and you've got a couple of little wires here, a white and black one. All you need to do is wire those into the two terminals, either way round. So there's quite a few different types of safety systems. This particular one just uses a little magnet so that when the door gets to the bottom, it automatically deactivates the system so that the door will close all the way. Your magnet just sticks to the frame. Let me show you how the safety system works. If we lower the door and if we put ourselves in the way, the door will sense that there's an obstacle in the way and it's not going to squash you. So you'll get two fobs like this with your door. Now to pair the fob to the door, all we need to do is access inside the control box there. You'll see there's a little button called Learn. So we'll press Learn once. We'll then press the circle button on the fob. Press up, down, up, and that pairs the fob with the door. And now we can screw the cover back on the control box. So we're getting really close to having this wrapped up now. We're going to put the back case on. The back case is just held on with two screws, one in each end. Finishing touches now, just popping these little caps in our screw holes. So although my door is now finished, and yours may well be too by this point, my door has to have an external manual override because I haven't got another door leading into this garage. So we'll fit that now in case there was an issue with power. So if you're looking for a good high quality roller door, go and check out TWF Roller Doors. Their link will be down below in the description. They're a family run business that supply DIY kits nationwide, and their doors are really high quality and the after support is second to none. So hit the link down below, head on to their online configurator so that you can build your door and carry out your ultimate garage upgrade. So we're just going to fit this manual override. It's a really simple little process. now is just tidy up the brickwork here with some plastic. We're just going to put that on the side to make that look nice and neat. If you've got an in-between fit with your guide runners in between your opening, of course all of that gets hidden, so you don't need to worry about that. So I've just got some 9mm plastic and I'm just going to stick this onto the brickwork just to hide up the old nails and the unfinished pointing that was behind the old frame. Bit of silicone all the way down, stick it in position. So that's it, the garage door's installed. I'm really happy with it, looks fantastic. Thanks for coming along and helping us today.
Brill, thanks for having us. It's great to be on your channel.
It's been a pleasure. I hope you guys have found the video useful, hope you've enjoyed it. Hit one of these if you have, because you're bound to like those as well, and I'll see you guys in the next one.